Morning, everybody. Good morning, buenos dias. As you come on, I have put a request in the comments asking you to please drop in the comments so that I can walk you through it right now while we're on this live. Drop in the comments a story, a current story or belief, anything that you have that you know that is holding you back, that is limiting your ability to get a result in your life, or is causing you distress, right? It's interfering with you having the joy on a daily basis, or the hope and inspiration that you want. What is a current story or belief that you have that you want to change and you're committed to changing? Yesterday we talked about and we went through a process. If you didn't watch it, definitely go and click that video from yesterday. We talked about a process that I teach people in my Get Set method all around doing an evaluation on a certain belief or mindset that you have about something. So unpacking where it came from, and then seeing the ways that it served you and is no longer serving you, etc. Today, we're going to talk about how do you then flip it? How do you re-script? How do you refocus and redirect so that you can begin to create a new story and or belief and mindset around that thing that you want to change? So yesterday we talked about it being money. So if money is something for you that is, is holding you back, right? Like there's some belief you have, some story you have around money, share in the comments. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it has to do with your body. Maybe it has to do with relationships. I spoke to someone recently who, reached out to me because she knows, number one, that I did this process where I manifested my husband literally in 2 days. And I've put it together like an overview of it in a PDF. So if you want it, let me know in the comments. But she reached out to me because she's been single for a really long time and she wants to be in a committed relationship. That's what she said and says that she wants to be in a committed relationship, that, that is one of the main things that worries, that keeps her up, that's always on her mind. Well, when we started to evaluate what her actual beliefs were around being in a relationship, we started to unpack all the reasons why she was preventing that manifestation, all the reasons why she didn't actually believe that it was possible, right? And it went way back, pardon me, it went way back to a time in her life when, she saw her parents have a really terrible relationship and she adopted this belief that she heard, right? She heard it from her mother and then she believed it to be true, that men can't be trusted. So then she ended up in a relationship where she collected more evidence that men can't be trusted, right? Because what we believe, we recreate. Does this make sense? So as we unpacked it, and she realized like, wow, I don't even believe this to be possible for me. And because she couldn't believe it to be possible, we couldn't even get her into a state in the beginning of even visualizing that, even identifying what it would feel like. So even though she was creating like a list, here's the thing, that doesn't matter. She was creating a list of, I want these things, I want that in a person. What you've heard me say before is you can't expect from anybody what you don't already have, what you're not already giving and emitting, right? It's like a frequency. We can only attract what we are already showing up as. Like attracts like. It's not an opposites attract. Maybe you opposite attract on like personality or something like that. But underneath it, you are attracting how you are showing up in the world. That's why people are a mirror for us. Okay, so when we started to unpack all that, I'm trying to pull up a document for you guys here. What she ended up realizing was, wow, there's no way that I'm going to actually attract this person that I say I want into my life because I don't even believe it to be true. So we had to re-script her old beliefs, You get that? We had to re-script her old beliefs and flip, the affirmations, because here's the truth. You're always affirming. I just realized, oh yeah, there I am. You're always affirming, meaning like people will say, oh, affirmations don't work. Well, guess what? You're always affirming. Just look around at you and see what is manifested in your life, and you'll know what you've been focused on, right? So you affirm on purpose, or you just affirm, by default. So for this particular woman, those of you that are on, drop something in the comments, engage with me. I want to know that this is landing with you. I don't want to pop on here and just talk to a screen. So if you're going to be live, be engaged. Throw in the comments, what's a story or a belief that you want to shift? Because I'm going to show you right now live how to do that. We're going to take that specific story and do it. So with this particular person, she was affirming the entire time, walking around with this thought in her head that she would reinforce in conversations that she would have with other people. It was, you know what, men can't be trusted. I'm just going to be single, and even though she wanted to be in a relationship. So she was giving the universe conflicting information. First of all, I want this. No, I don't believe it. I want this. Right. And so she ended up in these dating relationships where the person couldn't commit either. And that person was, sometimes in, sometimes out. She was attracting that, right? She was attracting that with her fear, with her story of it's not going to work out anyway. I'm too old. They can't be trusted. I'm just going to get disappointed anyway. You guys getting me with this? So we had to go in and really re-script. So she was affirming, she was saying those things on a regular basis, and she didn't even realize that. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to look at, okay, what is the story or belief that I want to change so that I can manifest a different result, right? As a high performer, you've got to take responsibility for the life that you want to create. It's not just waiting for it to happen. Yes, there is this state of flow that you get into when you can really get connected to what it is that you desire and the feelings that you desire. And what has to happen, though, is you've got to remove the resistance to it. It's not enough to just say, I want something. Does this make sense? It's not enough to just have a desire for something. You've got to then align with it in what you believe about it, because that's going to put you in a certain energy to attract or repel, right? So it's like, I want a lot of money, but I believe that money is difficult to come by. I'm going to have to sacrifice a lot. I'm going to burn out, or money's not for me, or money's evil. So they're on two different frequencies. So saying you want something is not enough. You've got to get yourself in alignment with believing it to be true, and then accessing how that feels, the vision of why, and, what is the whole purpose behind what you desire. So in her particular situation, yesterday we talked about money. That's an easy one to then turn around and re-script, right? In her particular situation, we had to re-script the affirmations that were running around in her head on repeat of, all the good men are taken, or there's, men can't actually be trusted anyway, and I'm too old anyway. We had to flip those. For example, I'm too old to be in a committed relationship or to attract anyone gets to be flipped to, well, I know that there are people who at my age and older actually do attract someone in, and they have a great relationship and they're happy. So I know that that is possible because somebody else is having it. So there's one way that she gets to start talking about it. Another way that she got to start talking about it related to age is, well, I know that there are other people out there, other men at my age who are single or who are divorced and who also want to be in a relationship. And yeah, I do know that I actually have, there's this about me, I'm really great at this sport, and, I'm a really great person to hang out and have dinner with. And like, she started going through all these ways in which someone would be attracted to her at her age. Okay, so you've got to first start seeing the possibility, right? You've got to shift your story. One of the easiest ways is to look outside for evidence that somebody else has created it. If someone else can do it, so can you, right? If someone else can do it, so can you. So let me give you another example, because yesterday we were talking about money. So how do you re-script your thoughts and your beliefs around money? So say you're someone who's struggling financially, who's been struggling maybe most of your life financially. You work hard, but you always feel like you're just making ends meet, and you never have anything to show for it, right? You're constantly stressed about money. And you've had enough at this point. There's a process in my method where I teach you've got to define what you're disgusted by. You can't just kind of want something. You got to be so damn disgusted and ready to change it and be completely done with it. That's when you hook in and plug in. That's when you're ready to actually make a change. So when you get to that point, you've taken responsibility, right? This is all about taking responsibility for the life that you want to create, the result in any area. And it starts here. That's what we're doing. So you've taken responsibility for it and you're committed to making a change. Here's how this exercise would look for you. You do that brain dump that we talked about yesterday. Writing out what comes to mind for you around your thoughts around money, right? The words and thoughts that you've been repeating to yourself over the years, they start to come out. Phrases like money doesn't grow on trees. Every time I catch up, something else comes up. Money's the root of all evil. I never have enough money. Money's hard to come by. I've got to sacrifice everything in order to make money, right? Whatever comes up for you. As you write those things down, you begin to realize that almost all those thoughts and phrases are things that perhaps you heard growing up, right? From your parents, your grandparents, people in your community. You start to see how those affirmations that you've adopted weren't even your own to begin with, right? It's like, where did that come from? Oh, that's where it came from. Right? You start to realize those weren't even your own thoughts. And the more that you write it, the clearer things become. Your patterns of thinking begin to unfold, as do the patterns in your life. You can start to see how, because you thought that way, the X, Y, and Z manifested. Because what happens is we end up proving ourselves right. We start creating the evidence to back up what it is we believe. That's why people are spending so much time out there debating and fighting with each other when they actually really believe what they believe. So nobody's going to change their mind until they decide to, right? So it's easy for you to see when you do this evaluation. And if you didn't watch yesterday, go back and watch yesterday's video. It's easy for you to see how your negative beliefs in any situation, in this example, we're talking about money, or your limiting beliefs, keep you in that self-fulfilling cycle of, in this example, a negative wealth story, right? And so how do you then change that? And if you have something that you want to share in the comments about a belief or something that you want to change, go ahead and type it in. So how do you start re-scripting that, right? How do you develop a new thought, a new belief about it? Well, you start to affirm on purpose. Right? You start to, instead of letting your mind just be in that negative autoplay cycle of whatever it is, I'm too old, all the good men are taken, I'm gonna have to sacrifice a lot to make money, whatever it is, instead of allowing that to dominate your thoughts, you get to say, wait a minute. Let me affirm, let me affirm on purpose. Let me come up with thoughts that I actually want to have. You get to write your own, right? Because as you can see, you're already in that cycle of autoplay, of affirming. So don't you want to create thoughts and beliefs that become on autoplay in your mind that start to manifest the result that you want? Of course you do. Of course you do. It's the repeated words, phrases, and thoughts that we allow to take up space in our mind that actually create our reality. A high performer, anybody who is wants to live a higher than average life, an above average life. I'm doing a show right now called Not Born to Be Average, right? I'm interviewing, professional athletes, self-made millionaires, plus millionaires, billionaires. I'm interviewing some of the top entrepreneurs and spiritual teachers. They all have that thing in common. They've taken personal responsibility for the way that they think. They've said, forget it. I'm done with like whatever I've learned, whatever I've been taught to think, however I've been taught to do something. They're thinking outside the box and they're taking responsibility in this way. And that is a common theme with all of them. So how do you take control of your mind so your mind doesn't take control of you? Because what we know is your feelings start to come out of you as a result of what you're focused on. So you get millions of thoughts every day. It's not the thoughts, that just come in and go out that are causing the reality in your life. It's those thoughts that you hang on to and decide to just keep repeating, right? For whatever reason. And you might not always say it out loud, right? A lot of this can just be in the back of your mind, like I said, on autoplay. But when we aren't in control of our thoughts and we're not directing them, we're not directing our thoughts, we're not directing our beliefs, we're not directing our intention, and we're just letting life happen and we're reacting, right? Like the ball hits us and we jump, right? Then we're stuck in this cycle that I always talk about called, and that I came up with, I call it a tricky triad. It's like a triad. It's just a big circle. Your thoughts come in, you repeat them in your head, you start to think them, you start to believe them, and then you start using language to really back it up. And then that attracts other people who believe the same thing. It's called collective consciousness. It doesn't make it true. It doesn't have to be true. It's true for you because you're in that cycle of believing it, using language, then feeling a certain way, right? So with this particular person that I was coaching, because she was believing that men can't be trusted. And then she was talking to people who've had that experience, and then so they're reaffirming with each other. And then she's having that feeling of not trusting, and right, her feelings come as a result of what she's thinking about. It was like, whoa, hold on. It's great if you want to keep thinking that, if you don't want to have this trusted, loving, committed relationship that you're saying you want. Because that's the thing. It's not enough to say. Your beliefs and your thoughts and your energy has got to align with what it is you say you desire. When you say, oh, affirmations don't work, or, law of attraction doesn't work for me. Yes, it does. It's a law. It's a universal law. It's part of God's law. It's the way the world works. Pay attention and you will see. What's not working for you is the fact that you're saying you want one thing, but you're thinking, believing, and doing and using language that is the opposite of that. So you've got to take back control. So you affirm on purpose. And I gave you that example of 2 for 1, and I'll give it to you again. 2 for 1 rule says, for every one reason you come up with that you can't have something, be something, do something, immediately catch yourself and come up with 2 reasons why you can. And in her example, I gave that to you, right? In the example of money, say your belief is, I'm going to use a real life example that I just spoke to someone about yesterday. If your belief is, I want to make $1 million, right? Like I want to, and you've seen evidence in life, maybe yourself personally, for this person, it was her personally, or you've seen it in circles, that in order to do that, you've got to burn yourself out. You're going to sacrifice all this time. And, you're going to have a visceral feeling about that, right? If that's your belief. All of a sudden, you're going to go to emotions of stress and worry and doubt. And then all of a sudden, you're out of alignment with that desire. But the 2 for 1 rule is, okay, you believe that you're going to have to burn out in order to make $1 million this year. However, you could collect other evidence. You just need to look for it. and or create it. So what if you came up with 2 more reasons? Well, you know, actually, I don't have to be burned out and sacrifice to make $1 million. One thing that I could do is I could actually hire, you know, a team of people to help me with this piece so that that part can be accelerated and I take that off of my plate. So, okay, I see how delegating and having team in this area would actually help me. I'd put out more money in the beginning, but I'd actually make more, right? And so that's one way that I could do that so that I can shortcut it. The other thing is, let me find people who've actually done it in alignment with what they've wanted to do and find out how they actually did that, right? And so then you go out and find people who've done it. I know people who've done it, who have done it in a place of, you know, being off on the weekends or taking 3 or 4 vacations that year, whatever it is, right? You get to come up with, look for, and or create reasons to the contrary. You guys, guess what? We're all creating life. You're a co-creator. There's a lot that we can't control, such as when things happen, how they happen, right? Like God's hand is in all of that. But what is so clear is that we are co-creating. We are co-creating. There's a reason why, you know, people in the same situation can be born into the same situation, trauma, poverty, anything, right? And there's a reason why there's some people who will go on and create this amazing life where they're out, you know, making, you know, millions and billions of dollars and donating and being big contributors in the world and are changing the world. Your Tony Robbinses, you know, your Oprah Winfrey's, right? People that have come from these same environments that thousands of millions of other people have. There's a reason why there are those who can go from that situation and create something beautiful and not be stuck in that, and why the others can't. Because the average person does not realize that they can control their thoughts. And that when you start to control the way that you think, you also start to take ownership of the way that you feel and the energy that you put out, and life starts unfolding in a very different way than had you not done that. Can you guys see that? It's an above average thinking, right? It is a high performer way to think, to say, this is my reality now, that was my reality then, but it has nothing to do with the reality that I'm going to create. So yeah, you look at those people and you realize they have drive and they have determination, but it also starts right here. Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, they had drive. They're high performers. Don't think that they're not just because they were out doing something beautiful and amazing in the world. That's high performer thinking. That's not born to be average thinking. So it starts with the thoughts, and then you get to go out there and align your actions and your relationships and all of that with the things that you're believing. So what is a belief? What is a belief that you are committed to shifting? What is a story you're committed to shifting and changing? Decide what it is and start to use that system to rescript, to affirm on purpose, to, you know, come up with the 2 for 1 for your actual belief. Wherever you get that one sticking point, come up with 2 beliefs or thoughts. It's got to start with a thought first. You will begin to believe it as you continue to focus on those thoughts. Okay, so look for the proof, create the proof. Look for the proof, create the proof. So practice today. I've given you this challenge. Practice today by identifying that one thing that you perceive as a problem or an obstacle or insurmountable, right? And then come up with 2 solutions or beliefs to the contrary. And then share in the comments so that I can come back and support you on it. Thanks for joining me live, Rosemarie, Catherine, Willie, Jennifer, and I will see you guys back here tomorrow morning at 7. Bye.